First match of the day, we have Razer Alliance versus Wild Boars. Razer Alliance was actually in my personal favorite match yesterday, where they fielded a budget T1 team and fought to a 1v1 with a Rupture going up against a Macarial. Razer ended up losing, but it was a very suspenseful match. It was my favorite of the day.
Yeah, this is some really interesting setups being flown today. On both sides, it looks like an anti-rush team. With Razer fielding heavy ECM with some curses to stop anyone rushing in, as well as some bombers for your damage. And on the right side, we have 3 Lokis, a Hurricane, a Guardian, and a couple of curses and a couple of bombers for some extra damage.
What do you think about all the electronic attack ships we've been seeing?
Well, they're really good for their points in the tournament, pretty much, because you get a lot of mid slots, a lot of bonus ECM or EVOR. And they lock really fast, which means that you can pretty much put those curses on those rooks before they even get a lock and damp them down. And the match is now underway. And as we see, the Wild Boars team is going after the Razer Alliance bombers right away. And we see a bomb explosion there, drones going out, bombs flying everywhere. Not a lot of damage being applied, but certainly a lot of drones were being popped there. It looks like both teams are kind of keeping it chill, keeping some distance from each other. We're taking some damage now on Lee Chanka, the FC for Wild Boars, who's flying in a Hound. While on the Razer side, not really any damage being applied at all, except on the Tramiel.
Yeah, the Razer Alliance team is trying to stay away, which is obvious. They have quite a long-range team here. It looks like the Wild Boars are trying to close in on some of their ships in the middle of the grid, but Razer keeping quite a bit of distance.
Yeah, I mean, both teams don't really need to be on top of each other. I would say that those Lokis, I'd be surprised if they weren't flying with artillery setups. At least it looks like they're not trying to close in too fast. So if they're not running artilleries, they're certainly making a few mistakes there. In fact, we just lost a bomber, first bomber to go on Wild Boar side, while Razer Alliance is still only taking slight damage on the Tramiel, but being kept no problem whatsoever.
One of the Wild Boars lost their Hound, so that'll affect their DPS somewhat, but not too bad. It doesn't look like there's really much damage being applied to any of the Razer ships, or what damage is being applied to the Razer ships is getting repped up.
Yeah, Razer is still pretty comfortable here. They're, of course, an ECM heavy team, so those Rooks will be jamming absolutely everything, and now we're losing a second bomber for the Wild Boars teams. It's not looking very good at the moment.
It looked like the Razer team split up their damage. 2 of the carries and the Hound all started getting shot at the same time.
And that's actually a pretty smart move when you have multiple frigates, which you can kill fairly quickly. And that Guardian there is having some trouble keeping up the reps on the Kereses when the damage is being split. But as we see right now, damage is being focused on a Mac Hack or something like that on a Keres, and he's being repped up with no problem whatsoever.
Razer still almost taking no seeable damage from the Wild Boars team. Anybody that's getting shot is getting reps from that Scimitar almost immediately.
I'd be surprised if those Rooks didn't have every single one of these Lokis jammed up and not able to do anything but look what is going on and admire the scenery.
Just looking at the grid, I don't really see any missiles or gunfire coming from the Wild Boars team at all.
Yeah, the missiles are being spewed out by these Rooks over here. Of course, as we explained yesterday, while they are an ECM heavy ship, they do actually do surprisingly a lot of damage, and they are one of the main sources of damage right now for Razer Alliance. Of course, those 3 bombers there will be doing a fair bit as well, and some drones from the curses.
The 3 carries, 2 of them are in deep armor now and taking damage. Also, the Lokis are taking damage for the Wild Boars too. One of the Lokis is in armor now.
Absolutely. This is the right decision by the Razer Alliance, I believe, to split damage on those Kereses, because it's going to be very hard for the Guardian to keep up reps on both of them at the same time. I'm not too sure why they're shooting the Loki. That does not make a lot of sense, but maybe a few of them are damped still that the Loki is the only thing that they can shoot.
Well, it seems like that Loki stopped taking damage. They could have just been doing that to try to...
We did lose another carries though, so that's less damps for the Wild Boars teams. It's not looking too good for them at the moment. Only be a Manticore taking slight damage on the Razer side. Both teams are closing up a little bit. The frigates seem to be closing up on each other. Those Lokis don't seem to be moving anywhere, so they're definitely artillery fit. But it doesn't matter what they're fitting because they will not be able to lob absolutely anything in this game.
And now it looks like the Razer has shifted their target to take the Guardian for Wild Boars is taking some damage, and that Loki started taking damage again too.
Yeah, looks like the Guardian is now getting painted, and it got into range, and it's taking heavy missile damage there. Of course, Rooks need at least a couple of painters, though they should probably web him as well. I don't see if anything is close enough to web him right now, but he's taking sizable enough damage, so he is going to go down here very shortly.
The Razer team is not a real high DPS team, so it is taking some time for them to chew through the Wild Boars, but the Wild Boars have almost no response to what Razer's doing to them
and
right
as
now.
we see, his damage is being split once again, and that is having an impact, and we lost just another carries for the Wild Boars team again, so that lessened their dams, makes those other ships a little bit more useful. Maybe the Rooks were trying to get out of range of that Garrus, or Garrus was trying to get out of, but here goes the last Garrus now.
No, the Wild Boars was the last team that played yesterday. They went up against Outbreak, and they got completely dominated by Outbreak. I don't think they're bringing bad setups. It's just the teams that they're fighting against have completely outclassed them.
I think the Wild Boars today, if those were indeed artillery Lokis with damping ships mixed in there, that was a very good setup, but they just got outplayed by this ECM heavy team. And as we saw, just the Guardian just blew up, and now it's just cleanup job for the Razer Alliance.
4.5 minutes left in the match. Just the 3 Lokis and the Hurricane left on the Wild Boars side. They have done absolutely nothing to Razer. Razer still has all of their ships up. And Wild Boars has no response. At this point in time, it's one at a time the Wild Boars remaining ships are dead.
Yeah, once again, I mean, absolutely, pretty much everything on the Wild Boars team was permanently jammed. Those Lokis never probably got any locks whatsoever. I mean, the Manticore took a little bit of damage. It looked like maybe a frigate got a lock on it. Of course, if those Garruses were able to pull range and get their dams on those Rooks and outrange them, this match could have gone a little bit differently, but both teams played pretty well, but Razer just completely dominated this match.
Yeah, wildly different setup than Razer fielded yesterday. I did like the T1 budget setup. We were making jokes. Razer Alliance was, until very recently, a major space-holding 0-0 alliance, and they lost all their space, so we were saying that, oh, maybe they just can't afford Tech 2 ships, but they certainly didn't go that route this time.
No, certainly they brought an awesome team today, and that totally outplayed Wild Boars. Of course, these two alliances now both live in Venal, in fact. So they're probably, this is like everyday occurrence between these two alliances, is having some small gang PvP without titans, because, well, none of them probably can afford to bring them out now without getting dropped on by some super gap heavy alliance that also camps out in the same region.
Yeah, and none of us like those super cap heavy
No,
alliances.
what about those super caps, Astro?
They're terrible ships. Luckily, we don't have to see any of them here in the Alliance tournament today.
Excellent. Alrighty. Well, we're just seeing this 3 minutes left on the match, and this is going to end in about 1.5 minutes. I expect that last Loki to die, and the Hurricane, of course, will die very shortly afterwards as well.
Yeah, but all that's left at this point is cleanup time. Just the one Loki, the Hurricane. They're not even shooting. They're not doing anything. They're not even moving. It's pretty much just game over at this point.
Yeah, missiles take a little while to reach their target, so they're just chilling there. Maybe they're looting. Who knows? They need a bit of ISK.
Yeah, what do you think about this Razer setup? 3 Rooks. That's something I don't think we've seen anyone bring 3 Rooks in a team so far yet this Alliance tournament.
That is actually, well, it's a nice team, but it's slightly risky, because if those Rooks would have gotten dampened down very early on, this match could have gone very differently. The 3 bombers are, of course, on the Razer side also fielding dams, so they would have been trying to get very quick locks on those Garruses and damp them down. Maybe what happened is that the Manticores got locks on the Garruses got locks on the Rooks first, got 1 damp cycle in, but that wasn't enough, because both those Manticores, the bombers as well as the Rooks, would have had to be dampened down, and I don't think they had enough mid slots to do that quickly enough from the Wild Boars side. Yeah. So as we saw, the Hurricane very quickly died. They decided to take that out first. Now they're doing a bit of cat and mouse games here. Of course, the Wild Boars is trying to deny some points from the Razer Alliance by just trying to kite out of missile range, as we see some missiles are disappearing without actually connecting to the last Loki from Wild Boars. He's got to be a little bit careful that he doesn't fly out of bounds here. The bombers are chasing him. This is going to be cat and mouse game. I do not believe they will catch up to him before the match.
They only have a minute left in this match. This is not a high DPS team Razor's fielding, so the Loki has a good chance that he'll be able to evade them and at least deny that 16 points to Razor at the end of the match.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Having said that, Torps are now hitting. There's a couple of different types of Torps hitting him, so he's taking some damage, but it doesn't look like he's taking enough damage. That Dromio Bumblebee went in there and whipped him down, so now it's just a matter, of course, of painters, newts, everything is going in on them.
Yeah, he's still in about 80% armor, 30 seconds to go. I think he might get away this time.
Oh, he's going to get away. Minotaur, of course, being not so cap dependent, and those curses aren't really doing that much to him in terms of it. Having said that, he is now taking significantly more damage. Those bombers probably all got in range now and started overloading their guns.
He's getting neuted. He's getting painted. He's in about 25% armor, but there's only 5 seconds left.
I don't think it's going to be close, though.
3, 2.
Is it structure? It's
fine.
not enough.
He's fine. So with a very, very commanding victory here, Razer Alliance has defeated Wild Boars in the first match of the day. And with that, this is Astro and Shadoosh sending you back to the studio.